the current permit is applicable to all cities, including non-urban areas also, you know, that.
So the new permit does not do that, John. That's what I'm complaining about. Yeah, the original one did, but it's not doing that now. I mean, you know, it's just, I just have a hard time, and I understand that, and I understand the Clean Water Act and things, but I think the whole board and this whole thing needs to keep it in perspective that they did in phasing it by population, phasing it by this, but you didn't. It's all cities. You could be a city of 500 and you'd have to do this.
I'm not going to win the argument, so I'll concede to that point. You know, this board, without a doubt, listens very closely to the discharge of the regulated community, the environmental community, and challenges staff. So I will tell you that it's not something we just throw out there every meeting. But if you think this is bad, there's rumors out there that Governor Brown now will be changing the makeup of regional boards, and they're going to make it strictly, one of my fellow board members 3 weeks ago was asked to resign already, so it's coming. They're going to be reducing the number of board members. They're talking about reducing regions. I mean, this is a whole deal, and you're going to have people selected for these boards that are not going to try to balance business and the environment, in my opinion, sometimes. So anyway, I think it's a great policy tonight. I think it was a good one, so I support this.
Farina?
Well, I think none of us want to end up like throwing our waste out like they do in China with all their manufacturing, or certainly India. And we've all seen the 60 Minutes reports of how they break up ships. We don't want to be like this, and we want to respect this, and we'll do this. I think it's just a point that is continued layer of bureaucracy. And it's getting worse in the state of California. It's bad across America, and this is another layer. So people have trouble living in the state. You have trouble with businesses operating in the state of California that no other city or district has. And there's got to be a better way of adding layer of bureaucracy. It's like the grand jury reports that we have to do. Red light cameras, we don't have those in our town, yet we have an attorney that has to spend time, and staff has to spend time doing those reports. And it's, as much as this took a half an hour to go through, I think it's an awareness of all the reporting that has to be done, and that sometimes we just can't go out and sweep up the street or do those little things that people want us to do, that your neighbor thinks you can do. We've got all these other things that have to be done, and sometimes you can't respond and repaint that graffiti or go wash that truck. And this is the reality of the world that we live in, particularly in California and within the Bay Area. That there's got to be another way that you don't break the backs of businesses or municipalities in order for us to have clean water, in order for us to live like we should.
We do need to adopt the agreement, because all we're doing is executing the agreement with San Mateo County. Yeah. It's not that we agree with the policy.
Before I make the resolution, I hope you all realize when you use the term IPM, as you do, that means integrated pest management, not immediate past mayor. I would make a resolution that we adopt this resolution approving and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the County of San Mateo for stormwater inspection and follow-up services.
Is there a second to motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, since it's money.
Councilmember Mueller?
I wholeheartedly support it.
He says no.
Councilmember Walter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Alfano?
Yes, and I hope it gets funded someday.
Councilmember Fraser?
Yes.
Mayor Patrick?
I will do it because it's just for the agreement. It's not about the mandate, so I will vote yes. Thank you, Mo, for that report, because I think it's really a great education, because I think the public really needs to become far more aware of all the things that are going on. Number 11 is an amendment to the city's story pole policy.
Thank you again, Mayor Partridge. Tonight we're asking you to amend the story pole policy. These are the poles that go up when construction is being proposed. Apparently, do we have a power pole?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect one. And what we would like to do is require story poles when there is an exception or variance to our zoning code requested, or when something is going to be developed in an area that's substantially undeveloped or as part of a visual resource. We are happy to answer questions, and Steve Flint, the planning director, can answer those questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Steve?
I think that the most important thing is with this recommendation tonight, we aren't degrading the view corridor from anyone by reducing this, changing this story pole. It still will be required in certain conditions, correct? Just quickly comment on that. So I want people to understand that we're not just doing away with them altogether.
That's correct. We're targeting areas that are have been previously undeveloped or are underdeveloped in an infill situation where you are surrounded by buildings that have already attained the maximum height. It's pretty easy to see what the maximum height would be in that area, so they're really unnecessary in that location. We're going to focus on areas of visual resource where there might be an impact and where there are exceptions. For example, when the senior center came in for an exception to the height limitation at the corner of Arnold Way and Main Street, story poles did go up there. That's an example of one that would still be required under this regulation. But for a standard single-family residence in an existing infill situation, we wouldn't be requiring that.
Thank you.
So I'm glad that we brought this back, because it's going back to the original ordinance that initially was passed, where it indicated it didn't be needed for these items. So I'm really happy to see that come back. So I'm open to a motion to approve or adopt.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt resolution rescinding Resolution C-5102 and establishing a new policy regarding the installation of story poles.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any objections to unanimous roll call? Hearing none, we will now go to item 12, resolution community event sign on Highway 92.
Planning Director Steve Flint will present the report.
Thank you, Council and Mayor Partridge. This report has to do with another Eagle Scout project we had in the city back in 2008. There was a proposal to actually add community event signage, which the new sign code does provide for. It allows for the advertisement and notice for community events, nonprofit events. And we initially had a plan to put signage at the corner of Highway 92 and Highway 1, which is probably the most visible corner in town. But due to some of the logistical problems that we had and the lack of funding to make that happen, we had to pick another location. And we wound up finding property on Highway 92 that is city-owned, which means unlike the Highway 92 and Highway 1 site, we did not require, have to get an encroachment permit from Caltrans. The Boy Scout, Adam Cohen, who did get his Eagle Scout rating, had all the materials were donated. He provided the labor. They installed the sign. Granted, the location isn't the best, but needless to say, we did get the sign. The city didn't have to pay for it, and there is an availability for some community event signage at that location. In May, we got a letter from the Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce asking that they be allowed to put some signage that would promote downtown on Main Street as a permanent attachment to these signs, and offered a little over $700 to fund that. With that money, we would be able to do some modifications to increase the visibility, add some height to the sign itself, and add the permanent signage that the chamber has requested. It would not impact any of the temporary banners that would go up for community events. It would just serve as a frame, essentially, for the community event signage. based on that, I think you've seen what the banners or the new additions would be to the sign itself. And staff is essentially in favor of making those changes. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
I would move to adopt a resolution authorizing the Act.mov Coastside Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau to add signage to the community event sign structure located adjacent to Highway 92.
Is there a second?
One second.
I have a comment to make. I know the chamber is putting up the $718 to put the signage. I have no objections to that. It's this that I think where the location is for that is not very visible, number one. Number two, as those trees grow and they do form hedges, they're not going to be able to see that sign. So I just want everybody to know that I'm really hesitant about approving this, but if they're putting up the money, they need to understand that that visibility may be only for a couple of years. Because making it go higher is not going to make it more visible, because the trees are going to go out and up. I don't know if all of you have seen where that sign is. I just wish it could have been moved more in front, closer to Highway 92. There is an opening, but I don't know whether that is our property or if it's Caltrans right away. Because it would be more effective and more, you could see it so much better, and it would be a lot more attractive, because now I'm not sure, how high they're going to make that, and if it's still going to be visible. So I just wanted to make that comment before, just so that the chamber was aware that, they need to be looking at that.
If I could address that just briefly. One of the aspects of this sign is that it is 90 degrees. It's two panels, one facing east, one facing west. And I agree. Eastbound traffic going out Highway 92, you barely see it now. However, in my opinion, I think the westbound traffic coming into town, it's a straight shot as you're approaching that, and it is highly visible, and it's not blocked by any trees at all. So it may be more effective to make this a one-panel sign instead of the two, and just forget about trying to say thanks for coming on that sign. But maybe there are other ways to do that on banners that are on the streetlights along Highway 92. There are other opportunities that we can probably work on to make that happen. But I think personally I would concentrate on welcoming people coming into town and saying Main Street that way.
Because it's not going to be, they're not going to see it. Marina?
Well, just the important thing is that people will see that sign as they're coming into town, and that's really the main objective that we're looking for, so people know that they can go down Main Street. So, and I guess we'll deal with it in a couple of years, or they'll start trimming trees then.
Not without a permit. Okay.
Exactly, and they'll pay a fee for that too.
Okay,
Yeah, it's been moved in second.
yeah, I know, I was going to say, is there any objections to unanimous roll call? Hearing none, then it passes. Okay, I know, you thought I was going to say no, okay. I would really like to adjourn the meeting in Rick Mao's honor, and if we could just take a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you, and this was a good meeting.